Today we are celebrating 1 year on YouTube, with cake of course. In this video I'm going over 7 skills to make a One-Derful cake. See what I did there? I personally don't care for working with fondant, so I'll show you how to make a beautiful cake without it that's just as gorgeous. I don't know if cake is how others commemorate a 1-year YouTube birthday, but that's how we're doing it around here. I started with 2 red velvet cakes already filled and stacked. I made this one extra tall. They're 3 2-inch layers. Crumb coated it and I've had it in the fridge chilling, so it's nice and firm and stable. I'm using a little baby offset spatula. I like to put a little frosting just towards the front half of my spatula so I have a little bit more control. Just do little small back and forth movements to spread the frosting on. I'm not going to frost the red all the way to the top. Now that I've got like a thin layer of icing on, I'm going to smooth it out. Because my cake is so tall, I have a very tall flat scraper. This just has a nice sharp straight edge that I can put at like a 45-degree angle to smooth out the cake to make it nice and straight. As you keep going around, you'll see spots that where it's thinner, where I need to add more frosting. Sometimes you need 2 coats. You'll just chill it in between times. Because if you look like here, you see the cake is showing through. By me chilling it, then I can put another thicker coat on so that we can cover that. At this point, I'm just going to chill it so that we can put the next coat on. I'll put 2 like crumb coats. I'll do the base, like the first crumb coat, and then I'll put a second white coat on. And then if I'm gonna add color, do that to the third. Think of like painting walls, right? You put your primer on, but if you're gonna do like a color, sometimes you need to do like a thicker primer or like even a second one, or you need 2 coats of the color. Same thing with this cake. I'm just filling in the little bits where I see little tiny imperfections where it's not completely smooth or there's little tiny gaps. If you're seeing that your buttercream isn't smoothing out nicely, you can warm this up because it's metal. It holds some of the heat, which will glide over the buttercream a little bit easier for you too. And if you look at it, my sides are still straight up and down. None of them are like bowing out because I kept it nice and straight. But since I'm done with my red, I am cleaning up my board. We're gonna chill it and then we're gonna do our top design. I had a second cake already chilling in the fridge that I already did my red topping on. It's nice and firm to the touch, doesn't leave fingerprints, it's nice and chilled. So now we're going to do our top design for the cake. So I've got some white buttercream in a piping bag. And because we're gonna make it look like snow, I like to use the piping bag because I can direct where I want the frosting to go. So I drew my lines. You can kind of see where I'm going here. So this is when I'm going to come in with my little offset spatula and kind of fill in, because there are like little gaps. And of course add some frosting to the top. So doing a design, there's lots of chill time, so it's lots of in and out the fridge the more layers you do. That's where we're gonna stop, and then I'm gonna chill it in the fridge. So I'm gonna use my comb again. I'm just doing light pressure going around. We're taking some of the icing off so that we're creating a smooth edge. Oftentimes with cakes, it starts to look sketchy and not great before you're done. Trying to keep it at the same angle, same pressure, letting the turntable do a lot of the work for me. And I'm just holding the comb in place and then moving the table. And then we'll go ahead and clean it all up as well. Now you see there's little gaps of where I'm missing, so I'm just going to add in some frosting where it's needed. And with this, I'm just gonna use my offset spatula instead of using the piping bag. There's always like a front side, a back side, a messy side. So I like to put wherever my seam is, I always have a start and a finish the same side each time. So you can kind of see here where I have the seam. It's very, very faint, but there's a little seam in the red. I just like to keep those together. And then I want just a nice smooth edge. So I am just going to smooth that out. Just swiping it across. There are some like rough edges like right here that you see. Now we can clean those up. I'm just going to pretty smooth. Just for a little extra, let's add some sanding sugar. I didn't know how I was gonna like it, but I love it. This is also a good cheat if you didn't get your frosting completely smooth, since it hides those imperfections, but I love how it adds that snow look I was going for. After letting your cake chill out in the fridge again, we are ready for our next skill, stenciling. Now I don't use a lot of stencils, so we're hoping for the best here, so fingers crossed. A few things to consider when using a stencil. One, make sure you have a small thin scraper like the one I'm using here. It will help with a more even application. Two, ideally don't hold the stencil like I'm doing here. Your hot hands will likely smudge the frosting and that's hard to fix. Use stick pins instead to hold it in place. Three, also note this is a cookie stencil, which makes it a little harder, but I can clean it up some. And four, it is also harder to stencil on the side of a cake than it is on the top or on a flat surface. So again, I got frosting in my piping bag. You don't need a lot. So this is about the amount that I want in my hand. So, and I'm gonna twist here. That way when you squeeze, it goes out this way versus out the back of the bag. These two fingers are gonna keep my bag twisted and pinched. These three fingers are squeezing the icing out the tip. And it's just enough to fit in my hand, so you don't need a lot. So writing on the side of a cake is harder than writing on the top of the cake because you've got gravity working against you, but we'll give it a whirl. I like to start one spot, put a dot, and then lift and pull around. So you're just putting a dot, lifting and pulling, and then I put another dot, and then again, I'm lifting and then connecting it versus dragging it across. If you drag it, then you're going to see those lines. So if I were to keep it like a pin, like to the surface, it doesn't have clean lines and it smudges, especially if I'm trying to squeeze and pipe it out. I mean, it is a wonderful time of year and it's been a wonderful first year on YouTube. All right, so now we did our writing. We're gonna go ahead and finish off our bottom border too. I'm gonna use green. That way when we do our trees on top, it all matches. We're just gonna pipe a simple shell border. You just squeeze, lift up, and then swipe around. So squeeze, lift, and pull. And it creates a pretty shell. So this is just a star tip. Mine is number 21. Shell covers that little imperfection where the cake is touching the board. So that is what it will look like. So now we're gonna do the same thing. So this one's an 18, so it's a little bit smaller, and pipe it right on top just to add some decoration, and same technique though. So for this, I just got some candy wafers. It says dark green. We're gonna see how dark this actually is because that looks kind of light. And then we're just gonna heat this up in the microwave. Get a couple pretzels. Put these in. You could do a piping bag, sandwich bag, whatever. I'm gonna put it in a sandwich bag, and then we'll just cut the side off. So it's just gonna be a small little corner. You don't want it too big. That way it drizzles out thin so you see the lines. So we're just gonna start big on the bottom, and then go skinnier the more you go up. And then because I have some little sprinkles to look like Christmas lights, I'm gonna sprinkle those on now too. So you wanna do it while the chocolate is still warm. This is just gonna add some height, some texture, design, without being too difficult. And the nice thing is it's an edible design that people can enjoy. To get a darker color, I added 2 of the chocolate wafers into the bowl with the green. And at this point, I was thinking it was kind of ugly. And to be honest, I didn't like it. So I added a couple drops of a darker green, and then I was happy with the color. And it didn't seize the chocolate. Even though the food coloring I have says it's a gel, the first ingredient is still water, which causes the candy melts to seize if you add too much. Cute. So this time I'm going to squeeze at the base, and then instead of a swiping to the side, I'm going to swipe up. So I'm just going to go all the way around. So you squeeze, and then when you're ready to pull, you let go. But if you want a longer tail, like here, then you can keep squeezing more. If you want a little tail or none, you stop squeezing. So in between my two shells, I'm gonna put my next shell in between there and go up. And I don't mind if there's a tail because we're going to be going over it. So I kind of like it with a little bit more of a tail. So I am just holding it like parallel to my cone. The nice thing is the cone is a shape of a Christmas tree, which makes for a nice like tree. It's definitely easier to put your cone on first because as you can see it goes right down to the bottom and it's gonna make it harder for you. So here you might just want to apply a little less pressure and make your shells a little bit smaller because we're getting towards the top. And a star on top. And here you have it. Our One-Derful is Christmas inspired since we started around this time of year. Thought it was fitting. I love how it came out. I love the colors. It looks just like my inspiration picture, just what I pictured. I've had a great first year on YouTube. I've learned a lot, gained a lot of friends, made lots of really good food and shared lots of good food. So I look forward to a whole nother year of making new delicious recipes from sweets to savory. I'd love to hear more comments and love to hear what else you'd like me to make. I've greatly appreciated all the likes, subscribes, comments, and shares. So cheers to many more. For a 1-year YouTube video, do you sing happy birthday? Happy birthday to Auntie Alicia's Kitchen. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, Auntie Alicia's Kitchen. Happy birthday to us.